Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the Outerhaven Podcast, episode number 75, Friday, the 21st of August, 2015. I'm Clinton Navigator Bowman. I am joined by the big boss in charge, the HNIC, as I like to call him, Keith Mitchell. Keith, what's going on?
What's up, everybody? It's a Friday.
And I'm also joined by Mr. Anime Post himself. I like to call him JJ. Oh, so sexy. Piedra. What's up, Josh?
What is good, everybody? Happy Friday.
All right, and we are here. We are here with a very special guest, ladies and gentlemen. Man, he is a remixer extraordinaire. He's famous. He refers to himself as a boss from Mega Man 1. And no, it's not Guts Man or Oil Man or Fireman.
Did you just say Oil Man?
Oil Man?
Really?
You know, Powered Up. Yeah, that was a reference. That was a reference.
Terrible.
That was a reference, ladies and gentlemen.
That was
DJ Cutman.
Hey, what's up? Yo, thanks so much for having me.
Thanks for coming on to the show.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man, I got to say that we're all big fans, especially myself and Clinton. I've been dealing with video game music for quite a while. Very long time, I should say.
Nice.
I've been doing it since I was like 18, so like 10 years. I'm like 28 right now. I've been doing it since I first got into college. First time I ever really, because the only thing for me personally was like, you know, listening to video game music, like the hip hop, like licensed tracks. But then when I got into listening to, you know, video game music, like Sonic the Hedgehog and stuff like that, finding remixes and all that fun stuff, man. Whew.
My first console was a PlayStation 4. Halo 5 is a classic for the ages.
I see what you did there, buddy. Oh, man. But I know, Josh, this is not one of your questions, but I'm going to go ahead and ask because I just thought about it. So since you've been remixing video game music for quite some time, and obviously you've been in the genre for quite a while, what do you think about the progression of video game music from back in the day, from the Nintendo and the Sega Master System up until now, when we had full-blown orchestras, and where video game music is now indistinguishable from mainstream music? What do you think about all that?
Well, I love chiptune and like old school 8-bit music. Like, I love that music. There's a big scene of people making new music out of the old hardware Game Boys and Nintendos and all kinds of stuff. I used to run a podcast called This Week in Chiptune where I highlight new music made with that old tech. So there definitely there's a place in my heart definitely for that kind of music. The old school video game music, some of my favorite compositions, some of my favorite tunes of all time. And I think the way the music's going now, we're seeing some indie revival. We're seeing indie games doing chiptune soundtracks, games like Shovel Knight that take that inspiration from old games, but they're sort of like blowing it out and going bigger and crazier than you could have ever fit on like a Nintendo cartridge or something like that. And then you have like more orchestral stuff, which I think is cool. But for me, as a DJ and as a music fan, I prefer video game music that's got like a catchiness to it, that has like a hook, that is built to be good songs, not just the atmosphere for the game. And certain games, like game I was checking out on Let's Play, The Last of Us, such an awesome game, such a cinematic game, that would have not been an appropriate game to have like a really kitschy soundtrack. You know what I mean? There's certain games that like make sense, certain games that don't. But then Shovel Knight's a perfect example of the other side, where it's a platformer, it's a fun, action, fast-paced kind of game, and having that, like, sweet, like, dancey, kind of upbeat, hooky soundtrack really, really adds to that experience. So while I think, game developers got to make the call about what kind of music fits for the kind of game that they're going for, me, myself, I love the kind of stuff that is catchy, a soundtrack that you can listen to when you're not playing the game and really enjoy it. Or a soundtrack that me as a DJ that I could go and play out at a show and people can get down to it. That's the kind of stuff that really resonates with me.
Yeah, you mentioned Shovel Knight. Yeah, that's a really good example. I love that game. The original soundtrack, the remaining soundtracks are even better.
Yeah, Vert, Jake Kaufman, the composer for that, is just a wizard to begin with, and I feel like it's one of his greatest works. That's Shovel Knight and Yacht Club, the whole game studio that made that game. They're awesome folks, and I think they just killed it.
Yeah, I actually had a chance. Another one of my partners had a chance to actually talk to them right before they launched the game and right after they launched the game, and yeah, there are some pretty cool people there.
Yeah, definitely.
And Kaufman also did the soundtrack in one of my favorite games, and one of my favorite soundtracks too, Shantae Risky's Revenge. So it's like,
oh yeah,
yeah, I love that one, and the Mighty Switchforce series. So it's like, I love that. I mean, me personally, speaking of catchy songs, you said you do love the older style, the 8-bit and maybe the 16-bit, if I can do
Yeah,
a
that
stretch.
chiptune stuff. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, like what would be your most favorite if you've done a remix of any of those? What would be the most favorite? Something that you like basically pinpoint and say, this is my favorite thing to work, my favorite thing that I have ever worked on.
All right, so I'm gonna just blow my own cover here, and like as you started asking that question, I like hustled over to my own Bandcamp page to be like, oh geez, I don't know. Um, I really like the music. I really really like the music to Link's Awakening for the original Game Boy. And then they put out the
Ooh.
DX version for the Game Boy Color. It's basically the same game, just beefed up a little bit. And I love that soundtrack, man. I love the game itself. Like, it's just such a fast-paced Zelda game, which is unusual in the franchise. Normally it's kind of like slow and deliberate and like, go deliver soup. Oh, you didn't do it fast enough. Try again. But this game is just like, oh, go find your sword. It's at the beach. Oh, you got it. Here's a shield. Oh, you got it. Here's the dungeon. Oh, here's an owl. He's going to tell you where to go. Don't get lost in the forest. All right, go. And it's just like, boo, 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 boo. And the soundtrack's got that, like, catchiness. It's got that kind of hookiness that I really, really like. But the cool thing about chiptunes, like the old school chiptune music, and the reason why I like it is because they only had, like, a limited amount of technology to fit all that music in. The composers had to get really creative with how they're going to express their musical ideas. And while with modern stuff, you could have a whole orchestra next to a whole like taiko drum group next to a whole bunch of synthesizers, and like all that stuff can be in one track, and it makes no difference. It's all the same format. But back when it was on a cart, you had to really flex this little bit of tech that you had. So I find that some of those old chiptune compositions have so much interesting little details that keeps them interesting for years and years and years. And the Zelda music in general, man, it just got such a spirit of adventure, this like feeling that really makes sense with the game, but also I think it really works well outside of the game for just like kind of an upbeat soundtrack. So I really love mixing with the Link's Awakening music, a lot of Zelda tunes, and of course the Mega Man games, Mega Man 2 and Mega Man 3 in particular, and Mega Man 4 actually doesn't get a lot of talk. Have great soundtracks by a lot of composers. A lot of people worked on those Mega Man 2, 3, and 4. And there's just some great tunes in there. And because they're chiptune, as a DJ and a remixer, there's a whole lot of room for me to like sort of mess with it and change stuff around. Where like a big orchestral score, it's like, it's so filled up with details and instruments that as a remixer, I'm a little bit boxed in with what I can do. But you give me like a chiptune composition that's like only a little limited part of the frequency, and only there's not a tremendous amount of stuff going on. There's a lot more room for me to sort of explore and play with when I'm doing a remix.
All right, that's a good thing, Josh.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you said that the reason why you like chiptunes is the fact that they're very catchy, and it's obviously pretty easy to remember a chiptune song versus something that has like 40 different instruments in it playing in an orchestra. It's a lot easier. So that pretty much answered my question. So I'm going to go ahead and flip it here a little bit. If you were born in this age and you actually grew up on orchestral music, do you think you would still actually remix as chiptunes today, or do you think we'd actually have to maybe stumble upon it and discover it and maybe fall in love with it? How would your perspective change on remixing if you actually were born into an orchestrated environment?
All right, so you're asking the question that I hear all the time, which is it just nostalgia? And I think a lot of people, I think nostalgia does play a big part into the initial interest in chiptune music. People who grew up with old video games, hearing a new song that's got the qualities of their game that they spent hours and hours and hours on playing as a kid, there's definitely interest there. But I know young kids, and I see like really young kids, like my little brother, or kids at conventions who are there with their parents, getting down to chiptune music, who were not born when this was a thing. Their first system was, a PlayStation 3, and that's what they know. And that's what at first it really kind of shocked me, because I thought that is it's nostalgia, and that's why we like this stuff, and the compositions are cool, but it's like, oh yeah, it's old stuff, and it reminds us of a time, of a simpler time, you know what I mean? But I'm seeing really young kids, like 4 or 5 years old, kicking it when I'm like at a convention, playing at my booth or playing at a concert, like getting down to chiptune music. And I think there's something really special there, and it may be that the way that chiptunes are made is so different from the way that modern electronic music is made, and modern music in general is made. I mean, most chiptunes are written on a program called a tracker, where they're literally each note is programmed, like typed in, play a C here. All right, wait 3 ticks, play a D here. Rather than like written down on a staff or on left to right like a workstation like Pro Tools or Ableton Live. So and because they're programmed, they have a different quality to them. They have a different style because the way you make them is so different. So like nowadays when electronic music is just freaking everywhere, chiptune music, even though it's been around for 20, 30 years, it has this, because it's written and created in such a different way, I feel like that it sounds different, and it's always going to sound different than what the majority of electronic music sounds like. And because of that, it's special, and I think that's why it resonates with people.
Yeah, most definitely. When it comes to chiptunes, too, we know that's your love, but was there actually anything aside from nostalgia that actually influenced you to actually become a remixer? Was it just the chiptunes, or did you actually have like someone who was maybe doing something with it already that made you say, hey, maybe this is something I can do?
All right, so you want the DJ Cutman backstory? Do you really want to hear how I got into all this stuff? Because it's dark and scary, but I'll tell you if you guys want it. Yeah. All right.
My body's ready.
You ready? Your body's ready. So here's the short, dark backstory of the DJ Cutman project. I was working in a hip hop recording studio in upstate New York, and I had this job recording rap and mixing rap music for about 3 or 4 years. I think I was in the 3rd year of it. And what happened is I was working up there. The job is kind of hard. People will be like, oh man, you worked at a studio? That sounds dope. It's not dope. You are a computer babysitter. That's what you are when you're a studio engineer. You babysit the computer, and if the computer gets mad, you better know how to make that computer get happy. You hit record when they say we're ready to record, and that's it. It's a whole bunch of technical stuff. But anyway, a sad, unfortunate thing happened. The studio that I worked at got robbed. And the people stole some stuff, and the manager of the studio, like they did film and they also did recording, and the manager of the studio was so upset about this robbery that she shut the whole recording studio down. She was like, no more recording at all. It wasn't bringing enough money to begin with, and now we're out because we got this robbery. So I had been working there for like 3 years, and I had loved music. And some of my clients, I had one client in particular who was a big old gamer fan, and we would talk about sampling on the Sega Genesis for his rap tracks and stuff like that. And it was really fun. But I lost my job, but I also kind of lost my purpose at the same time. Because I was making rap tracks. That's what I was doing. And that was my day to day, And so then I lost the job, my little bit of income I was getting from the thing. But I also I wasn't making music anymore. And I wasn't really writing a whole lot of my own music. I was mostly just mixing and doing the engineering thing. So I started DJing as a coping mechanism, just to continue to have some sort of music related labor in my life. And what I would do, because I didn't know how to get a gig and I really didn't even know how to DJ, is I took my monitor speakers from home, the speakers I would mix on, and I put them into my cat carrier, the little bag with the mesh front to take your cat to the vet. And I put it in there with my surge protector and an extension cord and my laptop. And I would just walk out onto the street and find a public outlet and plug the whole little rig into a public outlet in a gazebo or whatever in upstate New York where I was living. And I would just sit there with my little red MacBook and play these beats that I made, basically taking the hip hop drums from the studio that people had come in, being like, here are my beats, yada, 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 that clients had brought in, and mixed them with my collection of old video game music, because I had been a big fan of OC Remix for many, many years, and I'd been collecting video game music and chiptune music for a while just because I loved it. So I started quote unquote performing this kind of music on the street just so I had some sort of technical task related to music. I can't record anymore, the studio's gone, but I'm still up here, I still have all this stuff, so I just literally go out on the street and just play music. And I did this for a couple months. I actually ended up landing a gig at a waffle store, because I was playing outside the waffle store, and some girl comes out of the waffle store. She's like, hey, you want to come in? And I was like, oh, thanks, but I don't really have a lot of money for a waffle right now. She goes, no, you come in and you can play in here, you're always out on the street, you might as well come in and do something. And I was like, what? Can I get a waffle? And she's like, yeah, you can get a waffle. So I played my first gig at this waffle store called Waffle Frolic, and I got paid in waffles and coffee, which was a great gig for me at the time. And it led me to eventually go to conventions. My first conventions were MagFest and PAX East. And once I went to MagFest, which was my first con, having been doing this thing on the street for a little bit, I didn't realize that fans of video game music and video games in general and anime and all this nerdy stuff, I didn't realize that we all left our house and went to one place. Like, I didn't know that ever happened. You know what I mean? So like I was in MagFest, in the hotel of MagFest for like not even 30 seconds when I felt like I'm home. I made it. These are my people. I saw cosplayers running around. I saw kids hitting each other with Nerf swords. I saw like people, so many DSs that I like had never even seen of colors and sizes before. Like it was an experience, and I knew that I had to do something for this community. I knew that although I had lost my job as this sort of badass rap engineer, I saw a scene that needed somebody with that experience, somebody who had like this big ass collection of video game music and wasn't afraid to like play it out. I had somebody who had some experience prepping music that sounds good to sort of like, how do I say it, like temper chiptune music so you could play it out of a speaker and have it sound really pleasant and not kind of like techie and shrill, which can happen sometimes for a number of technical reasons that I will get into. But yeah, so basically went from the studio to the street to the convention life, to the con life. And man, when I hit those cons, I was like, this is what I got to do. And I just started devoting more and more free time. I call myself DJ Cutman because Cutman was a nickname I got when I was working in the recording studio for snipping out little pieces of audio. Like at the beginning of a rap verse, there's always like, all right, all right, turn it up in my headphones. Okay. Oh, wait, no, let's start it over. And you have all those little things, and I would like cut those out. And one of my clients was like, yeah, cut that, Cutman. Cut that, Cutman. So I kept that name from the studio when I started DJing, and it was the name of that Mega Man boss, and everything just sort of lined up. It was the way that I made music was like copying and pasting or cutting and pasting. So like it was a number of features that let me be like, Cutman is like kind of the thing that I want to call this project, this video game remixing project. And it just all worked out, man. I've been working really, really hard. I've been doing this for 6 years now, and I just bust my butt, and I just, keep doing it.
Oh man, that's actually dark. Please, that's actually inspirational.
Oh yeah,
I feel slightly inspired to get up off my behind and do stuff.
Nice, man. Oh, that's the most I could ever ask for.
All right, two quick questions to follow up on that. You spoke of OC Remix.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, what's your opinion on OC Remix, and what do you think? Do you think that we really need more communities such as this?
That's a specific question. I think we need more communities like OC Remix?
Yep.
I don't think so. I think what OC Remix has is really, really great, and I'm not sure we need. They are the big game remix community. They're huge. They have something like, I'm on their website right now, over 3,000 remixes, if this count is right. Where is it? Where's that number? 3,500 and something. So I think what they have is awesome. And dude, OC Remix is like a legacy at this point. They've been around for over 10 years, like 12 or 13 years, and they're like the video game remix museum, if you ask me. They have tracks going back to so long, and you got guys who have gone from remixing video game music as like a hobby to being professional game musicians and other stuff. I mean, Vert's got some old tracks. Guys like Zircon, who used to just remix video game music, he now does all kinds of like big, high-scale projects and stuff. And I think what they got going for them is really, really cool. They have like this incredible archive of the fan arrangement community that just goes back forever. Like, what if somebody's like, we're thinking of starting a website, for to collect a bunch of remixes for the next 20 years? I'd be like, but why? There already is. OC Remix like does that. And while they were a big foundation of my DJ Cutman sets when I started, I don't play a whole lot of their music anymore because, and there are some great things on there, but because I don't play so much of their music because I decided to start my own video game music record label. And when I did that, the label's called Gamechops. I should get better at plugging my brands, I guess. It's called Gamechops. Follow us on YouTube. But the reason I started a label is because I saw what OC Remix was doing, and I was appreciating what they were doing. They were putting out what they called free fan arrangements from people all over the world. People would submit. They have a big group of judges that go through all the submissions, and that's got to be a job. Like, oof, I don't even want to think about what those guys
Yeah,
have to do
right.
every day, going through every user submitted. And I submitted some stuff when it was not in good shape. And I know they listened to it and they were like, sorry, buddy, like, keep working on it. Try not putting your kick drum all the way in the left side. That was a little bit weird. And I'm like, okay, I get it. But I decided to start a label because I saw some value that I could add to the scene. I could, as an engineer or somebody with the engineering background, I could help specific remixers take specific songs to the next level of like this, I hate this term, but I don't know a better term, but this professional quality. And, that was my job in the studio, was to take a raw instrumental and a raw rapper's performance and get it ready to be played on the radio. Get it ready to be pressed on a CD, which is something that doesn't even happen that much anymore. But, like, getting all these technical aspects out that you may not learn if your hobby is just, making music on your computer and this, that, and the other thing. So, I think OC Remix is a great resource for people who want to sort of check out the history of video game remixing. And they have a great forums where you can like chat to people and learn the ropes. But as for a community, I think the communities that matter the most today are conventions, like real communities of people coming together. And there's always going to be boards and stuff online, but I think that like people coming together physically in a physical space to talk about what they love, that's what really changed my life. That's what really like gave me direction. So like, do I think there needs to be more communities for video game music appreciation? I mean, like, sure. But right now, I think OC Remix, they got that on lockdown. So if somebody's like looking to, get a group of friends together, I almost say that it's better to like get some people together and talk about actually putting some projects together or doing some events or something like that than just starting another website.
Oh man, you already answered the second question I had for Gamechops. Man.
Oh yeah?
You say you need to get better. You just was like, yeah, I started a label for Gamechops. I'm like, yeah, promotion. Woo!
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I felt like I was rambling, but I guess I foresaw that next question. Yeah.
So like, woo! All right, yo. So let's see who's kicking it next to Keith. And he's sitting on there like zoned out.
No, I'm right here. My kids in the background. I'm like, shut up! I'm talking. Go away. And I'm
Oh,
like,
yeah.
So you mentioned a couple events, MagFest and PAX East.
Yep.
You've actually been to a couple of PAX East. And I can basically say about the video game music scene there, remixes, that there's been a couple times where I've just been walking around. Clinton, you were with me last year, walking around, trying to do our thing, and I hear somebody playing music, and I'm like, where's that at? Where's it at? And I'm listening, and I'm like, where's that? And I ran into a group. I talked to them before. Trying to remember what their name was. Oh man, Super. I can't remember their name. I apologize, guys. You've listened to this podcast.
Super Soul Brothers?
Yeah. Those guys.
I just guessed. All right, yeah, those guys are dope. I heard them playing at MagFest, the MagFest that happens in Virginia, in DC. Yeah, dude, that band is tight.
Yeah,
too.
they are. They're really
Seriously.
good. So the question about that is, what do you think about conventions and promoting video game music? Not talking about OT remakes. I'm talking about smaller crowds, people that aren't well known, people that want to get their start. Do you think
That's where I got my start.
Do you think going to conventions like that are worthwhile for them?
Yeah, dude. So it's so important, and that's what I was saying. Like, should you start a new video game remix website? Like, no, you shouldn't. You should get your ass out of your house and go to some place where these people are. Because I've been loving video game music my whole life, and it wasn't until my buddy dragged me kicking and screaming to MagFest. I was like, I don't want to go to a place where just a bunch of people are being nerds. I could be a nerd at home, and I don't even have to put my shoes on. But then after I went there, man, just feeling the energy of all these people who all love the same thing as me, being able to just have an impassioned conversation in the elevator going to the room, or like in line to see a panel about something that I love that I had no idea anybody else loved that much. It's so important. And as a musician or a performer, getting out and meeting people, like really meeting people, not on the internet, but face to face, is worth so much. I really do feel like a one handshake is worth 100 friend requests. I really do. Because when you're there, when you can make an impression on somebody, it sticks around a lot more than like a tweet or something like that. I'm not saying that stuff isn't valuable, because it absolutely is. Any type of outreach or stuff that you can do as an artist or as a musician is important. But I really feel like going to conventions and going to events, you never know who you're going to meet. You could be standing next to a legend in line to play a game. You could meet your next collaborator. You could meet a girlfriend. I mean, who knows? It could be anybody there. So yeah, I definitely think that it's important to get out to events. MagFest is a huge recommendation. They're doing a smaller one called Mag Classic, which was at the venue where my very first MagFest was, and they have their big one in February this year. PAX is always a great time. Otacon's a big anime convention in Baltimore that I've gone to a couple of times. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff, but I think it's really worth a lot to get out, get out of the house, and actually go to these events and meet people in real life. I think it's one of the most important things you can do if you're an artist or musician trying to, build up.
Cool. Most definitely. And speaking of collaborators, because that's a segue,
Nice.
you've actually collaborated with a whole bunch of other people like Mega
Right.
Man, Brental Floss, MC Chris, Team Bonsai. The list can basically go on forever.
Mhm.
But is there anybody left out there that you actually want to do a collaboration with?
So there is, and it's happening. Can I leak some information to you guys? I haven't really told anybody about this yet.
It's totally up to you.
Yo, Outerhaven exclusives. Let's
This
do
is
this.
exclusives. Outerhaven exclusive right here. So there is a guy I've been wanting to collaborate with for a couple years now, and I finally have the pleasure of starting to work on an album with him and a bunch of my Gamechops homies. He goes by the name Smooth McGroove.
Oh man.
Oh, yeah.
snap.
Yes, he is a huge a cappella YouTuber. He does a weekly video game arrangement of a different video game song, all a cappella, all with his voice. Really incredible singer and super humble dude. I've met him a couple times at a bunch of cons. We actually had a bunch of the same cons this summer, so I was bumping into him all over the place. And me and my buddies at Gamechops are working on an official remix album, taking the multi-track recordings of some of his songs and doing like updated dance music version of his songs. And I've been wanting to work with him and do a Smooth McGroove remix for like years and years and years. And my buddy James Landino, who's produced some tracks on Gamechops, including this really killer Zelda one called Link to the Future. James actually just hit him up one time and was like, "Hey, Smooth, we're thinking about doing this, yada, yada, yada." And he was like, "Yeah, sure." So we've just over the past week, we got a bunch of his session files, and thankfully I have that engineering background, so I knew exactly what I needed to give my remixers so that everybody can do these tracks. And now we're working on an official remix album for Smooth, taking a bunch of his tracks and doing our dance music video game styles to them. So it's really, really exciting. No release date on it yet, but I'm really trying to get it out before the end of the year because it's already sounding so good. We got guys like Grimecraft on it. I'm doing a track. James, of course. Who else? Blind, known best for his work with Overclock Remix, is doing some stuff. Yeah, really, really exciting. So that's dope. There's your exclusive. Boom. I wasn't even planning on saying that, but I felt like that's a good enough segue. Might as well let it go. Yeah.
I have a side question that piqued my interest now. Smooth McGroove did like one of the most epic a cappella remixes or arrangements of One Winged Angel. Is that
Oh my
correct?
God,
You
yeah.
love that, don't you?
Yeah, actually, I thought about doing that, me personally, but I know from talking to Smooth that track has something like 30 or 40 vocal tracks in it. It's so much that I know with my setup, with like my home studio, I could handle it, but I don't think that it would be a very comfortable project to work on, because you're talking about having 20, 30, maybe even 40 vocal tracks before all of the remix elements. It's like, it'd be a huge, huge undertaking. And I just like tracks that are fun to work on. And that would, for me, knowing my workflow, that would be like hours of just preparation before I got to even do any of the fun part of it. So we've picked tracks that we all, like myself and all the other Gamechops guys, personally resonate with, but I have specifically tried to avoid anything so crazy like One Winged Angel, because it would be a massive technical undertaking, despite the fact that I'm working on a guy's music who I absolutely love, and that's a challenge in and of itself.
Alrighty then.
So let me ask you real quick before you jump in there, because I know you got a big one there. So you mentioned that something with that what you're working on is a lot of work. which puts in to ask, how hard is this? What you do? How hard is it? Can anybody just get into it? Do you have to have a certain skill set? Is it patience? Are you completely self-taught, or how does that work?
All right, that's a hard question. Well, let me answer it briefly. Is it hard? No, I don't think it's difficult. I think what is difficult is sticking with it. And that's all you got to do to get good at really anything, I feel like. But music and remixing in particular, be aware that the first remix you do, no matter what world you're coming from, no matter what your experience, either books, streets, whatever, it's not going to be what you want it to be. It just won't. It can't. You don't know the way to work yet. And for me, the key has always been workflow. And this comes a lot from my experience as a studio engineer. When I was in the studio, I had to work as fast as my clients, the rappers or the beat makers or whatever. I have to work as fast as they can. So while they're behind an MPC banging out beats, or they're behind a microphone reading verses, I have to be able to use my tech at that same speed or faster, or I'm not being a good engineer because I'm holding them up and they need to come in to just record. So for me, what has really made the DJ Cutman project work out is when I entered into remixing and creating my own remixes rather than engineering other people's songs, I knew that I had to be able to get an idea drafted in like 10 or 15 minutes. And I still work this way. If I say, I want to do a drum and bass remix of Smooth McGroove's One Winged Angel, that sounds like a really badass idea. I'm going to give it a shot. I give myself, I'm talking literally like 10 minutes to see if that idea can be drafted in Ableton or in Pro Tools or whatever program I'm using. And that's kind of a litmus test for myself, because if I can do that, then maybe the idea will work. But if I spend 10 full minutes working on an idea and it doesn't come together very easily, I know that the whole process might be laborious, and a work that is labored over doesn't always sound the best. They say that the best songs are written in hours, not days. But when you're starting out, everything's going to be hard. Getting that first drum beat's going to take an hour. Writing in those trap hi-hats is going to take you 2.5 hours. And that's just the nature of the game. So there is definitely a degree of patience. But I think the biggest key of getting into this is that you'll find a way to make the process fun. Because if you're not having fun, you will never last. I've played with DJs who get paid a tremendous amount of money and do these world tours and have all these agents and people surrounding them, and I'm like an indie guy. I don't have an agent, I don't have a manager or anything. I'm doing all this stuff myself. I'm running all the Gamechops by myself. I have my girlfriend for moral support and stuff, which is great. But I've met these guys who hustle really, really hard, and they and some of them don't like it. You can just tell that they don't want to be at that gig. And I see those people with their 100,000 Twitter followers or whatever, and then I check them out a year from now after I played that show where they were just digging their heels into the dirt, and they haven't put out anything out, or they haven't tweeted in 6 months, or they haven't done something like this. So even at that big boy level that I'm not even at, where you're making a ton of money, which has never really been my goal, to be honest. I want to make good music with good people. That's my goal, and if I'm doing that, it doesn't matter what's going on. I feel like a success. But the people, even at that superstar level, if they're not enjoying it, they won't last. They won't last because they'll get sick of it and they'll quit, or they won't last because they won't feel inspired and be able to make the next big song or whatever. So I think the most important thing is, if you want to get into remixing, find a way to remix that you like. Don't think that because DJ Cutman uses Ableton, you have to use Ableton. Or don't think that because blank and blank does blank that you got to do that too. Because if you try it out and you don't like it, well, then try something else. I think a whole reason that I got into chiptunes is that writing music on an old Game Boy is super freaking fun. And I spent years of my life just writing original chiptunes that I almost never even put out, just because I was having so much fun. And then those skills later translated into me being a better chiptune DJ. Or me being a better producer somewhere else. So it's important to try things and find out what you like and be honest with yourself. Be like, man, I really, really like making beats in Ableton. I really, really hate making dubstep. That's a great example, actually. I DJ'd a lot of dubstep in my first few years, but I hated making it. And when I finally was true to myself and I was like, yo, I love dubstep, I hate making it. my life became so much easier because I stopped trying to do something I hated because I thought I was supposed to do it. I thought I was supposed to make dubstep bangers. I'm a DJ, right? But in actuality, I had way more fun DJing the music and then making chiptune music. And I think that was a real important lesson for me. It's like, be honest, if you like doing it, you should do it. If you keep doing it, you'll get better. If you don't like doing it, maybe you shouldn't do that thing. Like, why torture yourself,
Words to the wise. That you can use that and apply it to just about anything. So that's actually good advice there.
Thanks. I'm feeling a little rambly today. Sorry, guys.
Hey, man, we're all about rambling. Trust us.
Awesome.
So, for video game remixes, but you have dabbled in other genres such as the opening theme for Ghost in the Shell off of your Twitch Beats album, as well as behind-the-scenes YouTube videos for creating a remix for The Legend of Korra. Which my personal opinion, we're not going to get into that.
Oh,
is
no. I think we're entitled to give Mr. DJ Cutman, our opinions as well.
No, I need to know that opinion.
Yeah,
now,
so
don't.
I think the writing on the show was substandard. Like
all of it.
No,
the majority of seasons.
No. We'll cut to the chase. I know you.
Cut to the chase.
He's mad. He's mad about the end.
You're mad about the ending.
Yeah, because it wasn't written properly.
That is such an internet comment right there. Like, the writing wasn't good. I didn't like the ending. In parentheses, I wish we could just be honest. Like, I wish.
No. In all honesty, didn't. I wouldn't have minded. I wouldn't have been upset. I wouldn't have been upset about the ending if the development towards it was actually good.
Wait, so explain. No. Hey, I gotta pump the brakes on this Reddit thread right here and say good, bad. Like, tell me specifically. I need to understand. Like, what irked you? What
irked me? The fact that they just basically put it together at the end, and kind of teased the relationship at the end, where there was no kind of indication that they were going in that direction at all.
Are you right? I agree. I thought that after the ending, and they're like, oh, that their relationship thing was going on, and we're trying to not be spoilers here. I like that. I didn't notice that at all in the entire show, and I just felt like a little bit weird at the end. And then I saw the internet, and I was like, wow, okay. But that's not bad writing. That is a deliberate choice to omit that and put it in a subtext, If it was bad writing, it would have never lasted because you gotta be good, especially on Nickelodeon of all networks. That's a Viacom network. That was a hardcore show. And man, that show had some bad luck too, getting pulled off the air mid-season, going to digital only when their platform didn't work. Like, there was a lot working against.
Not to mention the crap advertising that they did.
Yeah, I mean,
I know.
I'm gonna be honest. They advertised Power Rangers a lot better than they've advertised The Legend of Korra, and Power Rangers was only on Nickelodeon for what, since 2011.
It's.
Then again, Power Rangers is also a bigger franchise.
Yeah,
so
and there's a lot of merchandise with Power Ranger. There's nothing out there for Korra, and even though you don't want to admit that, we're big anime fans and cartoon fans here. The way the cartoons are in the United States, it has to sell something for it to be profitable. And
same thing in Japan. Same thing in Japan. I mean, same thing works in Japan. Same thing works anywhere.
I wouldn't say to the extent that it is over here, though.
I don't know. They kind of skipped. Like, I'm sorry. Like, Saban totally skipped on a season of Super Sentai going in America because that season didn't sell so much.
Yeah, well, I think here in America we have a different issue that they have in Japan, and is that we as Americans are super critical and super vocal. Like, I lived in Japan for a short amount of time, and the culture there is different. People have this ingrained respect for stuff that was totally bizarre when I was over there. Like, people don't litter at all. I'm in Philadelphia. There's trash everywhere, and now I get mad if I see somebody throw a soda can on the ground. I pick it up and put it in a can because it's like, damn it, we all live here. But in Japan, there's this respect, and I really, really like that going over there. And here in America, man, we bitch, we complain. I mean, like, I get whiny about stuff, and we have the internet, so we have that, and there's this kind of culture on the internet, like, yeah, whine, it's cool, I'll upvote it, whatever, But I think that kind of behavior really does hurt creative shows. And I feel like Legend of Korra, while nobody had anything negative to say, if we were more outwardly supporting it, it may not have gotten shafted the way that, think about how an 8-year-old loves Power Rangers. It's so loud and so purely positive. You don't get 8th graders being like, yo, Red Ranger, I mean, his character's okay, but he's a little flat. Like that doesn't happen to kids, you know.
Even so, I'm sorry to interrupt. I mean,
No,
you know, even going to a more kind of a recent and kind of a relevant thing with Young Justice and Teen Titans, you know, that's the same thing there.
Let it go, bro. Let it go.
You'll be better for it, CJ.
I don't mind. I don't mind. Listen, I like Teen Titans. I like the original Teen Titans. I just happen to like Teen Titans Go a little better. That's just me.
See, but think about this, man, and I'm happy to be able to say this because I'm trying to articulate this for a while because I'm a creator too, and I have enough people following me that I'm starting to see this kind of criticism that when this is a distinctly American problem, I think. I mean, sometimes I see comments from Canada or YouTube come in, but mostly it's us. We have this feel of ownership over the content that we like, and we don't always think about the people behind it who are actually making it and the stuff that goes into the fact that, you know, they had to produce Legend of Korra, you know, with a particular budget, and Nickelodeon came into there and be like, actually, you're going to do 9 episodes? We need 13, and you have the same amount of money. So you remember in that Legend of Korra, I think it was season 3 or season 4, they had those 2 like really dope backstory episodes that were like superbly animated and like really, really crazy back when they talked about the very first Avatar. Do you remember those episodes?
Yep.
Yo, so dope. Can you imagine if the whole show was like that? And I know those creators are ambitious, and they didn't want to just do 2 episodes. But Nickelodeon was like, actually, you know, you had this plan to do it this way. Well, maybe you can do it that way, but you're going to have to figure that out because you don't have any more money and you have less time because now you have to produce 13 episodes instead of 9. And we as the audience, we don't see any of that. I learned that from reading a recap of their panel at Comic-Con, San Diego Comic-Con last year. And I think it would do us all good to remind ourselves that our favorite stuff is made by people who are lucky enough to be making this kind of stuff and are subjected to the same real life that we all are a part of, you know. They got to pay their bills, they got to feed their kids, they got to water their dog or, you know, whatever. And if something's not perfect, well, there's probably a reason. And that's why I think we see a lot of these big network shows like Korra, like Teen Titans, who are on an old school TV network with a billion tendrils of bureaucracy all around them, having to take these creative hits just to survive. Because you know Korra, if they didn't agree to do those 13 episodes, that shit would have just stopped.
Yep.
Like, stopped, done forever. Like, that would have happened if they didn't say, well, I guess we gotta write filler. I guess we gotta step off the fight scenes. You know, that's the only way to survive. And it's hard, man, but I run a label too, and like, when we want to put out a great album, if something happens and we have to put it out before it's ready, like, I try not, because I'm the only owner of Gamechops. I will sit on an album for a year if it needs another year. And for one album, our Katamari Dance With Me album by DJ Joe, that album was done for an entire year before it came out because I felt like I couldn't get the mastering right. It didn't sound 100% to me. And because I'm the only guy on my company besides the artists, I took an entire year. I remastered that thing 5 times. But if I was on a network, if I was signed to a major label, there's no way that would have happened. That thing would have rolled out like a year earlier and wouldn't have been as good. So that's why I love all these indie games like Shovel Knight, just to bring it full circle, is those guys take the time it needs to make their product right because they don't have anybody barking up their skirt about this schedule or that schedule. And I think it would just do us all good to remind ourselves that even though we love Teen Titans so much, even though we're all about Korra so much, there are real people behind that show, a lot of them, and they're doing that as the day job. Like, that's the way they're feeding themselves. And I think we forget about that sometimes. And I think if we remembered that real people are doing this stuff, we'd be less mad when something goes wrong because it's not their fault. It's not Korra, the character's fault. It's not the creator's fault. There's something in the pipeline that prevented it from being as good as it can be. So when I see that, and I wasn't happy about everything about Korra either, but when I see it, all I can do is watch those episodes on Nick.com or download them on iTunes so they know they have my support and just keep my fingers crossed that those people get to the point where they're able to do exactly what they want. Like, any of you guys read Saga, the comic?
I don't.
No? Have none of you read Saga? Dude, it's so dope.
Same
but
oh.
I'm slowly getting back into comics.
Oh yeah.
Slowly.
Saga was like my gateway comic. But it's a perfect example of two people who have been doing comics for like 20 years and finally got the clearance to do it exactly how they want to do it. And it's brilliant. And it's like the best comic I ever read in my whole life. And the art is beautiful, the story is beautiful, the pacing is perfect. And you can see that these are people who've been working in the industry for so long that some benevolent company has like granted them the ability to actually do it at the pace that will make it good. And for the only company that I know that actually sticks to this is Nintendo. Nintendo will sit on a game and delay a game forever and it will come out just right. Like Mario Maker, they've been working on that since like the Wii days and it's still not out yet because they're getting it to 100%. And Splatoon's, a lot of people doubted Splatoon before it came out, but that game is like so rock solid, and they're rolling out free content every day and stuff. It's awesome. And people hated on Nintendo, man. Like when the Wii U first dropped, people were like ragging on them so bad, and I got wrapped up in that too a little bit. But it's like there are real people doing this, and when something goes wrong, we don't always know, but it's up to them to sort of like make the adjustment. Well, do we roll it out? Not 100%. Do we make 13 episodes instead of 10? Or do we just pull the plug? Like, there are these hard calls. And I think, yeah, just to say it for like the millionth time, and I'm sorry, I think we all do it to remind ourselves that even though we love our content, there are real people behind it that are doing it at the very best that they can. So, yeah. Sorry, so ranty today.
No, it's fine. Actually, I have a question for you because a lot of people know you for video game remixes and your chiptunes. However, I happen to know you did a project last year with your sister.
Oh, yeah. You talk about old style?
Yeah. Tell us about that.
That's some obscure stuff, man. I mean, we didn't really put it on blast too much because it was so different. But
it was good, though.
Thanks, man. It was very experimental, and I'm like a big nut for like accessible stuff. Like I love movies, I love big budget TV shows and stuff like that, and like big commercial albums. So to do something kind of experimental like old style was really, really cool. But basically the idea was we took music that was written like 400 years ago, like in the 16th century, like on paper, and we like redid those pieces as if they were dance music. And it's crazy. I mean, you can check it out at oldstyle.bandcamp.com. It was really, really cool. And my sister my sister's a classically trained cellist. She has her master's degree in early music, so she studied this stuff. And she like learned producing like a little bit on Ableton to sort of put this together. So it was a really cool experience. It was really fun to do. I would love to revisit this kind of style in the future. Like maybe if me and her do some more stuff, but you know, she's got this life as a cellist, and it's like so different from like my computer digital music video game life. But we both have the same interest. I mean, we both love games growing up. We both love like pop music and dance music. So yeah, it was a really cool project. It was different though. From a guy like me who works with a lot of other musicians and a lot of other producers, to work with a family member, it was like, people say working with family is hard, and I definitely is different because like, you know that person so well. You can think you know your buddy that you're like playing Splatoon as a squad together, but then like you try to do a creative project with my little sister. You know, it was intense. It was like one of the more intense and emotional projects that we worked on. But I'm really proud of it, and I'd love to do more kind of stuff, more stuff like this in the future.
If you guys happen to do it again, I vote for a fifth of Beethoven.
Yo!
Oh, yeah?
I was just about to mention that because I'm sitting down there like thinking about Walter Murphy, and I'm like, yo, that song was dope.
The reason why I thought about that, because the reason why I found the old school is because I was looking for remixes of Fifth of Beethoven, which one of my favorite tracks in Little Big Planet 2.
Yeah.
That and Funk Odyssey. And I was like, let me see if anybody's got any remixes.
He says Little Big Planet 2. I say Saturday Night Fever.
Okay. Well, mine's is more relevant. We're talking about video game music, so there. But
Family Guy. But anyways.
so you talked about Smooth McGrew. What else you got in the back burner?
Okay. Well, so much stuff on the back burner. Why don't I just tell you what's on the front burners right now? So, Smooth the Groove, that's the new, that's the exclusive. That is coming out. We're hustling to get it out this year. I'm hoping it does. If it doesn't come out this year, I don't want you trolling my YouTube page, being like, "Bleh, he said it was this year."
I'm gonna
bleh."
come
It's
down and see you and feel like, dude, what happened?
Yeah, I mean, you could do that. You come to my house, we'll talk about it for sure. But just know I'm a human being. I'm working on it. I do have to eat and sleep. But so we got this new Ridge Racer album coming out by my man Rob KTA. He's a producer from Italy, and he did a Outrun album. So he's like topping off all of the finest racing game music with this new album. It's called.
Wait. I have to interrupt you. First, you said two of my favorite racing games: Ridge Racer.
Yep.
And
Outrun. What is the name of that album for Outrun? So I can
the Outrun album is called Outrax, Outrax, and you can listen to the whole thing on the UTAB and on the UTAB on YouTube. Outrax. Yep. If you also search for Gamechops Outrun, it'll come up. And that's by Rob KTA, and so that was a big collaborative album with a bunch of other producers. And then our new one, Ridge Racer. The album is called Ridge Racer Forever, and it comes out on Monday. It's Rob's new album. It's again housey, it's just the finest driving music. I swear, man. Like we're a label that does video game remixes, but our goal is always to be like, even if you don't know all of the source tunes, you're gonna have a good time listening to this album. It's supposed to be fun music. It's supposed to capture the spirit of the game, even if you haven't played the game in a while or if you don't know the source tunes. That's always what we've been aiming for, and I think that we've done really well. So check out Outrax for Outrun music. Ridge Racer Forever comes out on Monday. And then I have this chill out album by a guy named Donnie. He is a Canadian producer, but he now lives in Taiwan. And he's been working on this album for like years, man. We're talking about taking your time. I think it's been like 3 years since he's put something out on my label. He put out a Super Mario RPG album called Goombet back in 2012. And this is his first album since then. It is, I think, 12 tracks. And they're all like chill out album. It's all like chill out, like chill house and deep house and like mid-tempo stuff. It's really, really cool here. I'm pulling up the thing right now. And this is coming out hopefully in September. The mastering's done, but there's like still some artwork. We got remixes from Mega Man, Chrono Cross, Donkey Kong Country, Pokemon, Mario Kart, Mega Man, Final Fantasy X, which is, I love the soundtrack in 10. Secret of Mana. So there's a lot of there's a lot of really great tracks yet, and that's called Button Master Remastered. That's yay.
You are the real MVP right now.
Mm-hmm. So I got Ridge Racer Forever. We got Donnie's Button Master Remastered, and then of course the Smooth McGroove remix album. So that's what's got my Evernote tied up right now. Those projects.
Well, we've racked your brain for a while, and we don't want to keep you talking. But I do have a question for you. So we asked about you, what you do, and whatnot. But pastime, do you have any games that you like to play? Is there anything coming out that you're interested in?
Yeah. So as for a pastime game, and I have a gameplay channel called Cutman Plays, where I like post gameplay footage. So a lot of times I'm playing games like Splatoon. I'm also making videos for them, which it kind of makes it more fun and it kind of makes it less fun. But this one game, it came out like a year ago. I've been playing it, just keeping it to myself and having it for myself because it's so good. It's called Ori and the Blind Forest.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yep. Yes. Loved it and beat it. Love that game.
Yes, I am. I'm pretty far in the game. I think my little save file says like 72%. I'm at this point where everything's really hard. I got to carry this sphere and like gravity changes and all this stuff. But this game, it's just like, it's such a delight to like look at, and it plays so well, and the music is just great. And like, I may do a video on it, but I've mostly been keeping it to myself because it's just so good, and I just need to give it all my attention. Like, I really felt like this is not a game that I can like be checking the chat while I'm playing. This is a game I want to immerse myself in. So yeah, Ori and the Blind Forest, man. It's so good. So worth it. Best $20 I ever spent, that's for sure.
And it's getting a sequel.
Yeah, so
is it?
Yes.
Oh, it deserves it. Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, so
basically, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so now me personally, as a person that never really got into video game remixes so much, so like the first person that got me really into video game remixes was my friend DJ J Ball, or Ali, the producer, maybe.
Oh yeah.
DJ J Ball went to Queens College. I know him personally. when we were close friends. He does a lot. He did a lot. I mean, was there any inspiration? And speaking of that, is there any inspirations when you first started? Really, I don't know if you answered this already, but like personal inspirations, I feel like you did.
I don't think I did. Inspirations.
But I heard that. Oh yeah, when I mentioned DJ J-Ball, I was like,
yeah, dude. Yeah, I mean, I used to check his stuff out on SoundCloud. I used to dig like a lot. Who's another guy that I Oh man, his name's. I can see his SoundCloud icon in my head.
DJ Sega, DJ. Nah, I'm trying to think. There's so many.
Gamechop. He was actually the first guy that I used to that I heard the phrase "game chop" on. He had like Video Game Chops was the name. Video Game Chops was the name of one of his albums, and I was like and of course now I search that, and my website just comes up all over the place. But yeah, there's this other producer, man, Negro Saki. That's his name.
Oh yeah,
Negro Saki.
Yeah, we know what you're talking about.
Dude, and that guy, man, that was the guy who I first saw making chopped up video game songs and doing it at a level where I was like, these are real beats. You know, I discovered him when I was working in the in the rap studio, and my focus was all on beats. What makes a good beat? Yada yada yada, because I need to know that for the day job. And Negro Saki was the only person who had the fidelity down. His chops were crazy. His swing was on point. All of his samples were tight. And he was the only... And like I listen to OC Remix, and there's all kinds of genres on there. But Negro Saki was making beats that sounded like beats. They weren't like beats that sounded like, oh, he did something weird to video game music, which was a lot. Like when I started this, like 2009, 2010, there was a lot of people doing stuff with video game music, but not really taking it to this level where... I hate this term, but I want to use it because it sums up my feelings at the time. Making it into real music. People be like, oh, you like video game music? Well, that's not real music, and that's total nonsense. But when the production quality isn't at a level that we're used to, from listening to the radio, watching TV, watching videos, whatever, I think that's what that core feeling. It's not real because it's missing something. It has no bass. It has really weird stereo separation. It has no high end. It has... really weird stereo separation. I don't know if that makes a whole lot of sense, but like that's a big problem. Somebody will record something with like wires crossed, and then like you can do a ton of work to it, and it still sounds bizarre, and it hurts to listen to. And so this dude, Marcel James is his real name, and he made those beats where I was like, oh my god, you can do it. You could make video game beats that sound like real beats. And that's when I started really like focusing in and feeling, how do I do this? How do I make Street Fighter music sound like the hood beat that I know it could be? Like, what do I need to do? And now I've learned a ton of techniques. But this guy really, really shined through. And there was another DJ, doesn't do a ton of video game stuff, but has done some, by the name of DJ Grumble. And Grumble has produced so many industry stuff now. Man, he's doing really, really well for himself. But he's actually the dude who taught me how to make beats. He was a client in my recording studio, and I didn't record him a lot, but he would come in and make beats for other people. And he taught me how to make beats, ironically, or special. I guess it's not ironic, but he showed me how to make beats on a tracker, the same program that I eventually went on to make chiptune music with. My first beats were made on this tracker program, and he was just like, I just like the sound of it, so this is how I make all my beats. So it was kind of cool. Like I like learned a little bit of a foundation of making chiptune music for making beats, and then I made a bunch of chiptunes and went back, and it all kind of circled in. So to circle back one more on people getting started into this, it doesn't even really matter what you do as long as you're like learning and trying new stuff. And if you try something for an hour and you don't like it, well, then you got an hour of experience in that. And even if you don't like it, that may come back around. So yeah, I think it's really important to try a bunch of stuff, see what you like, and just hustle, because that's all I did. I hustled, I worked hard, I tried all kinds of stuff, and then my video game label clicked, my chiptune podcast clicked, but that's after trying countless stuff, countless things. So yeah, working hard and really just caring about it and caring about other people, that's what's done me right, and that's my mission.
Cool. Well, I don't think any of my partners have any other questions, so I
got one thing to say, though.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
You've got albums. You've got projects coming up.
Yeah.
You've got a YouTube channel. You've got everything going. And now you have DJ Cutman t-shirts, don't you?
I do. But if you didn't get one, It's too bad because they're done.
Oh,
It was a timed campaign, but actually, you know what? I believe that Teespring will reprint them if enough people order them. So if you go to teespring.com/DJ Cutman, I actually have the insider scoop. If 3 of them get ordered, they will print more. So if you have 2 friends and you want those shirts, even though it says, campaign ended, if 3 people place an order, they will print more and send them out. So it's there, teespring.com/DJ Cutman. There's also teespring.com/Gamechops. If you want to rock my logos, I would be super appreciative. You can tweet a picture at me, and I will definitely favorite it. But yeah, I'm hustling. Do you want me to tell you about some links you can go to check out my stuff?
absolutely. Pimp your stuff.
Is that okay?
Go ahead.
It's more than okay.
Yeah, get your Shawn Michaels on.
Yeah,
Really?
yeah. So, if you listen to music on YouTube, you can check out the Gamechops channel. It has every single Gamechops remix on it, along with nearly all of my DJ Cutman remixes, and it's just youtube.com/Gamechops. Cutman Plays is my gaming channel. You can also check out all of my music at gamechops.com or at music.djcutman.com. And a lot of those DJ Cutman albums are Name Your Price. So if you just want to get some music for free to rock out to, you can do that. Just enter $0 and you'll be able to download it. So that's me sort of giving back and also being like, hey, there was a time in my life where I couldn't afford music, and those producers who let me get it for free, that went a long way. So I try to do the same thing when I can. Cool. Well, thanks, guys. This was really fun.
Thank you.
Hope I wasn't too rambly.
Nah, that was fantastic. Trust me, if you listen to our podcast,
Yeah,
that was not a rant.
You're always your own harshest critic, right?
We go everywhere. But I wanted to ask you, the interview is over. Have you listened to anything from personal favorite of mine, Mick Gordon?
Haven't heard him. Yo, send me some stuff. Just send me in the Skype chat or something. I'll check
Actually, you
it
know
out.
what? Here, check this. Where is it? I can't stop listening to this.
My man's about to be like, Killer Instinct.
You know
let's
it.
do this.
You know it.
Yeah.
Yo, give him that TJ combo. Give him that TJ combo
That's
swag.
what I'm doing.
Yeah! Yo, that TJ combo mix is so sick.
It is crazy.
What I'd love to hear is a collaboration with the Megas. I think those two would just go amazingly hand in hand.
I love the Megas so much.
Oh, you don't even know how much I
Oh,
love
that's
that
the
stuff.
game rip. I don't want that one. Where's the one I had? Do you have that link anymore, Clinton?
No, actually, I don't. It might still be on YouTube though.
I hate you.
But you know what? In all honesty, man, it was great. This was a very excellent interview.
Yeah.
With Cutman. And shoot, I learned a lot about his mindset. I think we all learned a lot about his mindset, and I think a lot of producers have very good heads on their shoulders. Cutman definitely does.
Thank you, man.
Also, don't forget to follow DJ Cutman on Facebook. Just search DJ Cutman. It's that easy.
Or hit me up on Twitter. I can't ever turn Twitter off. I'm reloading Twitter in 2 tabs right now. I don't know.
Twitter's to Twitter.
Yeah, well, I just need it. I need to know. I need to know what's going on.
You're gonna be surprised if he's like, yeah, I got an Instagram too because I have to take pictures of all my fans.
Yeah, you don't shut up about Instagram, Clinton.
It is an active social media platform that is used, and when we used it, we used it at NAPAC. When we used it at Otakon, people followed.
I know. Yeah, there we go. Check out the first. Actually, the entire album is pretty cool. Mick Gordon's been doing the Killer Instinct soundtrack since the original Killer Instinct, and then came back when they brought it back and did season 1, and he did season 2. But sadly, he's stepping away from the series, which is really sad.
No, they got Cell Dweller, which they're a good group. So
yeah, Cell Dweller is good. Well, Spotify is doing something. There it goes. Spotify's
I never changed. Never changed.
Never change.
While TJ Cutman's doing that, I'm gonna knock the show out real quick. Make sure you follow us on Facebook at Theouterhaven. Just search Theouterhaven. It's that easy. As well as on Twitter at Theouterhaven. Check out our YouTube channel. Look for the Outerhaven Productions on YouTube, as well as www.theouterhaven.net. You can also follow each of us on Twitter. You can follow Josh at TheAnimePulse on Twitter.
It's actually at Pulsin.
Get him.
Yeah, get him. At Pulsin. You should change that. You should change that. At Pulsin, you can follow myself at now.
At what?
I think he just died.
You died. You're gone. You
What
killed
happened?
yourself, hype man. I guess
That's the beauty
it,
of
folks.
pre-recording.
That's it, guys.
Wow.
Thanks a lot for listening, everybody.